Dubey sir, you can start the video and tell the things.
Okay. Good evening, friends. Few people had requested me to play a video of Krishnaji on self-knowledge. That's why I am repeating it. As Durga ji mentioned, we have talked about this subject quite often, but on demand, I am going to share you a small video of Krishnaji, about 30 minutes. So please bear with me for a minute. You can see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Without the operation of desire and will, how does one move in the direction of self-knowledge? Is not the very urgency of change a part of the movement of desire? If so, what is the nature of the first step? If you don't mind, if I read it once. Without the operation of desire and will, how does one move in the direction of self-knowledge? Is not the very urgency of change a part of the movement of desire? If so, what is the nature of the first step? That is, the questioner is asked, is desire and will necessary or required to understand the depth of self-knowledge? Is not the desire itself a movement towards self-knowing? That is the question. First of all, to understand this question, not only superficial, but also the depth, we must understand the nature of desire and will, and the structure and the nature of self-knowledge, knowing. You understand? First, desire, will, and what does it mean if there is no desire? The movement of self-knowledge. If one has not the urge, which is part of desire and will, how can this flowering take place in knowing oneself? Right? That's the question. So, as we went into the question the other day, what is desire? And what is the relationship of desire to will? Desire is, I'm going to be careful, you have probably heard it 10 times, but please don't get bored with it, but look at it. How does desire come into being? One can see actually perceptions, visual seeing, contact, touching, sensation. Right? Then thought comes, creates an image out of that sensation, and desire is born. Right? I'm not an oracle. Hellfire has gone long ago. But you can see this for yourself. You can see for yourself when you watch through a window, a dress or a shirt, especially a blue shirt, and the seeing, entering into the shop, touching it, the material, then the sensation, then thought comes along and says, how nice it would be if I had that shirt or that dress, creates the image, right? You having the blue shirt and putting it on, or the dress, and that moment, desire arises. Is this somewhat clear? No, please clear to yourself, not understanding the explanation. This is the movement of perception, contact, sensation. That's natural. Hello. Then thought creates the image. You sitting in the car and driving. When thought takes possession of sensation, creates the image, then desire is born. Right? And will is the summation of desire. The strengthening of desire, the stability of desire, the urge to achieve, the urge to express one's desire and acquire, which is the operation of desire, but strengthened as well, right? So desire and will go together, right? Yeah. And the question says, asks, if there is no desire of will, why should one seek self-knowledge? What is self-knowledge? Let's examine that first. What is self-knowledge? That is, the ancient Greeks and the ancient Hindus talked about knowing yourself. It's as old as the hills. That Socrates and others in Greece and in India talked about knowing yourself. What does it mean to know yourself? Can you ever know yourself? And please, I'm exploring together. You are doing this together. What is the self? and you must know about it. You understand my question? What is this self that apparently it is necessary to know? Now, what do we mean by the word know? Sorry to be so careful about this. Otherwise, we will be misleading each other if we do not understand the words. What do we mean by know? I know Shad because I've been there for 22 years. I know you because I've seen you here for 20 years or more. I don't know why, but you're there. And I'm here. And when we say I know, we mean by that not only recognition, but also the remembrance of the face, the name. Right? Which means recognition, remembrance, and association. Or rather, association, remembrance, which is, I met you yesterday, I recognize you today. That is the memory operating. So when I say I know, it is the past expressing itself in the present. Hope you're following all this. Does it interest you all? So the past is the movement of knowledge. Right? I study, go to college, one goes to school, college, university, a great deal of information. Then I say I'm a chemist or a physicist and so on and so on. So we say, when we say one must know oneself, do you come to that knowledge about the self afresh, or do you approach it already having knowledge about it? You see the difference? You understand my question? Am I making it different? No. That is, I want to know myself. Do I approach myself through the knowledge I've acquired, which is, I've studied psychology, I've been to psychotherapists, and I've read a great deal, and I approach the understanding of the self through the knowledge I've acquired. Then, or do I come to it without all the previous accumulation knowledge about oneself, right? You understand the question? We have explained what is desire, what is will, and saying, and when we say I must know about myself, I am already acquainted with myself. And so this acquaintance, this knowledge dictates how I have observed myself. Right? It's very important to want to go into this camp. So having previous knowledge about myself, I use that knowledge to understand myself, which becomes silly, right? It's absurd, which is I've understood about myself from the knowledge of others. Freud, Jung, all the rest, the modern psychologists and so on. So can I, please listen, can I put aside all that knowledge? Because I am looking at myself through other people's eyes. Therefore, can I put all that aside and look at myself afresh, anew? You understood? Now, the question I ask is desire will necessary in observing myself, right? Now see what happens. I have acquired knowledge about myself through others, and the actual fact what I am. You see the difference? The knowledge I've acquired through study about myself and the fact of myself, what it actually is. Right? So there is a contradiction between what is and what I have acquired. This contradiction, to overcome this contradiction, you exercise will. I've got it. You understood this? How marvelous. You've understood that? I have studied, one has studied, I've not studied any of these things. One has studied, let us say, the latest psychologist, the latest, what do they call it? Psychotherapist. And went to him, talked with him, discussed, and he gives me certain knowledge about me, about myself, and I acquire that knowledge, take it home, and discover that knowledge is different from me. And then begins the conflict to adjust what is to what I have been told. Then the conflict, in that conflict, to suppress it, to overcome it, to accept it, I must, the desire and will comes into being. Then, come. Is this clear? So that is the question. Now we are saying, is will and desire necessary at all? It only comes into being when I have to adjust myself to a pattern of the guru or the struggle. And then the struggle, the conflict, to overcome, to control, all that things, right? Or I'm a seeker. You understand? I'm a seeker, which is I'm questioning. Therefore, in my questioning, I reject all that. I reject completely what others have told me about myself. Will you do it? You do. Because you won't do it because it is much safer to accept authority. Then you are secure. Whereas if you reject completely all that authority of everyone, you don't become a follower, you don't become a disciple. You are absolutely out of that field altogether. Then, how do you observe the self? You understand? The movement of the self. The self is not static. It is moving, living, acting. Now, how do you observe something that's tremendously moving, active, urges, desires, ambitions, greed, romanticism? All that, how do you observe? You follow this? Which means, can I observe this movement of the self, the me, the desires, the fears, all that? Can I observe it without any knowledge apart from others or the previous knowledge which I have had in examining myself? So they conflict. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sure. One of the activities of mind, of the self, is greed, right? Or comparison, comparing myself with another. That is the activity of the self. Now, when I use the word greed, I've already associated that reaction or that reflex with a memory which I've had of that reaction previously. Understand what I'm saying? I'm greedy. I use the word greed to identify that sensation. The identification of that is, I've already known it. So I use that word to identify. Right? So can I look at that reaction without the word, and therefore without the previous acquaintance with it? You're following this? Am I making this clear? Huh? Can I look at that reaction without a single movement of recognition? Moment that recognition takes place, I've already strengthened that reaction because I recognize it and take it back into my memory. Now, can I observe myself without any direction, without any comparison, which is I have had this before, or just to observe without direction and therefore without motive? That is learning about yourself afresh each time. Not that you have accumulated knowledge about yourself and you know about yourself. If you go into it very, very seriously into this question, you will find that it is not little by little by little. First step, second step, third step, first initial, second initial. But to see the truth of this instant, to see the truth that the moment recognition takes place, you are not knowing yourself at all. That requires great deal of attention. And most of us are so slack, so lazy. We've got all kinds of ideas that we must be this, we must be that, we must not be this. So we come to it with tremendous burden. And so we never know ourselves. That is, to put it differently, as we said the other day, we are the rest of mankind. The mankind, whether they live in Asia, here in America, suffer. Go through a great deal of anxiety, uncertainty, sorrow. So we go through it, each one of us. So we are essentially the common human kind. Psychologically, you may be tall, you may be short, but not psychologically, we are like the rest of humanity. So we are humanity. And what is there to know about myself? You'll say me, please. I'm all that. That's a fact. Then the problem arises, can that content of my consciousness be wiped away? That is the learning about oneself, which is not yourself, but the consciousness of mankind. See, we are so trained, we are so conditioned to an individuality. I am psychologically different from another, which is not a fact. So we are so trained, conditioned, we accept it. And so when we say I must know myself, we are saying I must know my little self. And when you investigate that little self, there is nothing. But when the actual truth is that we are mankind, we are the rest of humanity. And to inquire into this enormous, complex human mind is to read the story of yourself. You are history. You understand? It is stored. And there, if you know how to read the book, it's finished. But we come to it to read, we come to the book with knowledge. We don't say, I know nothing, let's read the book. Then you learn fast, not accumulate knowledge, because you understand what I'm saying? So begin to find out the nature of yourself, which is mankind, and the nature of this consciousness, which is the consciousness of all human beings, and inquire into that. So we are saying that the problem, question, the answer to the question is in the question itself. You see that?
Yes, Harshadji.
Yes. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Thank you, Dubeji. Here Krishnaji is explaining too much in my view, but what he is trying to say is that this self, whatever we call, it is made up of thoughts and feelings, and it is continuously changing. So if we gather the knowledge of the self, and through that knowledge, if we see further what is unfolding, then there is no freshness in that. So one needs the freedom at the beginning to look at what is unfolding in our mind, thoughts and feelings, and not to do anything with it, but let it flow. And that is what he uses the word, Krishnaji uses the word choiceless awareness, which is what the teachings are. And all one has to do is to just look and not gather the knowledge, accumulate the knowledge of the self, then it becomes a burden. And every moment something is happening. So one needs freedom and curiosity. It's not the will and desire, I think. It doesn't work because the will and desire itself is a block. So what one needs is a curiosity and no motive in looking at oneself. If there is a motive, then also it has a certain direction. And our thinking and feeling, we are not doing it. Very rarely we are thinking, but thinking and feeling are happening within us. And there is a possibility of watching it through the dimension of awareness, which is not thinking and feeling. So as long as this awareness is not awakened, this awareness which is in a different dimension than thinking and feeling, then there will be desire and will and motive, and it will complicate everything. So a motiveless watching of what is without analyzing it, without accumulating it, and allowing it, which is choiceless awareness, is like a stream flowing fresh. So that is what I think Krishnaji has said, what he is saying now in this video he has said it in a much better way in commentaries on living or other books. But here is defining what is desire, what is will, what is self-knowledge, asking many questions. So it becomes like a knowledge, it seems to me, Krishnaji. But actually his teachings are not about defining everything, but through freedom, watching what is unfolding within us. And in that, there is no direction, no motive. It's just freedom at the beginning. Okay, I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Harshad. I think Krishna is talking about what is happening in our real life, how we go through these processes. So one has to take it that way. Yes, Dinesh ji, unmute yourself.
Are you able to listen to me?
Yeah.
We have already repeated this subject and we have discussed last time also. I would just like to briefly go through that. Nutshell what JK says. Desire is born out of thought. That's what he says. Will is summation, strength and urge to achieve. To fulfill the desire and to bridge the gap between what is and what should be, we use will. Both go together. Difference between self-knowledge and self-knowing. My understanding is self-knowledge is past accumulation and self-knowing is observing your reaction in the moment. Keeping aside all knowledge and recognition without direction, without movement. This is what my understanding is. He then said, can the content be wiped out? Here he is talking of psychological content, past garbage. Then he said, read the story of your book, storybook of yourself and not by knowledge. I think that is also we have discussed last time enough. Now my questions are still there. Is really desire born out of thought? If so, just by seeing it, it should go. Or it is a energy surge and thought is just expressing it. Will to me is intellect coming into the picture. And yes, as JK said, it tries to achieve the goal. So will is basically intellect coming into the picture. Now, in a way, he says both are not necessary for self-knowing, but the question is, if no desire or will, why at the first place one will go for the self-knowing? Now, Harshad sir just now said that curiosity should be there. Now, what is this curiosity? Is it a desire? Is it a will? Or what it is? That also is to be studied, because again, it is a sort of stimulus. So we have to understand what stimulus it is. He said without motive and without any other attraction or this thing, we should go for it. We should follow our this curiosity. But is curiosity doesn't fall under this desire process? That is to be seen. Here there are 2-3 words are coming, like will and desire. Urge. What is urge? Urge is strong desire or impulse. Another word I am adding, need. Requires, need means require something because it is essential for existence or very important, rather than just desire, just a desire, a desirable. So some stimulus should be there for one to go into self-knowing. This is what my stand is. Now let us consider self-knowledge and self-knowing. Self-knowledge is okay because it is just a retrospection of what you have studied and what other your technical aspects are and all that, what degree you are having, etc., etc. That shows your positivity and all that, which attributes you are having and all that, and which you have developed, etc. But self-knowing, observing the reaction, according to me, observing the reaction, which is energy impulse or surge, how much it is possible to see it without thought or past reference? That's the question. It is debatable, as reaction comes only by taking past reference. if I am having continuously arguments or with say Sushil Jain sir, then next time when I and Sushil Jain sir meet, for example, I'm just giving example or just for the discussion sake. It is not like that. But suppose I meet Jain sir, then automatically that reaction will come and I will be attentive that he will make some comment or I will give response, etc., etc. So already that past reference is already there whenever you meet somebody. Yes, there is a possibility of observing it despite of thought and having awareness about past reference and discarding it. This is to be understood as far as my working goes. Last but not least, JK says the sequence of thought formation is seeing, touching, sensation, and then image and thought comes. Perception, contact, touching, and sensing. And then the thought, image thought comes. Here it is very interesting. There are two images formed. One is to be very careful in this. There are two images formed. One is what is. Suppose I see a tree. Immediately image of tree is formed. I see a samosa. Immediately the image of samosa formed in me. So there at that level, seeing is doing. And then the recognition is coming into the picture, and again the secondary thought coming into, then the thought is coming into picture whether I like it or not, or whether I should go for it or not. So these two images are formed, one of what is and another is whether I am having attraction or I am having aversion to it. So my views are here.
Brief. Please be brief. Let others also say something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So my views are this attraction or repulsion itself is culprit. Thought just expressing it. Thought is not that culprit, this attraction or repulsion itself, because it is linked to my basic weaknesses in the personality. So it is directly hitting there. Thought is just expressing it. So this is what I want to submit right now. Then we'll see how the things go. Of course, there is one more thing that we are conditioned to individuality, and the content of mankind is same. Fine, content of mankind is same, is accepted. But individuality is also a fact, is not it? Your uniqueness, your peculiarities make you separate, different from others. So this aspect is also to be considered. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Dakshina Murthy.
Good evening to all. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. First of all, I compliment the organizers for repeating this video, because hardly 3 or 4 weeks back, this was discussed in this group. This thing has got a very deep meaning. Actually, we should look at the question first. The questioner is asking, do I need to have desire and will to understand myself? See, for example, in our day-to-day life, we do a lot of things, and the driving force for doing those things is our desire. Desire is a great energy. Without desire, many things cannot be done. Particularly in the physical world, if you look at it, I desire to become an engineer. I have the will to study. I will become an engineer ultimately. I put the effort and get it. So, but Krishna is talking about the psychological world. Here also, if you look at it, for example, we are all meeting here in this forum every Thursday. Why we are doing it? Because we have a desire to understand the teachings of Krishnamurti by sharing our knowledge through this dialogue, and discover ourselves in the mirror of the teaching that he has given us. So desire appears to be a common thing. Krishnaji has very nicely dealt this question, whether desire and will are required. Already definition of a desire and will is there. I will not go into it. What he is ultimately saying is, if you have knowledge about yourself, and with that knowledge, you approach to understand yourself. You have a knowledge by reading books. You have knowledge by going to psychotherapists, etc., etc. And with that knowledge, you approach yourself. Then what happens is there is a distortion. There is a division between what you are and actually what the teaching, what you have been told. That is a conflict. So to come out of this conflict, because you are approaching yourself with knowledge, to come out of this conflict, you need to have a desire and will. But if you approach without knowledge, without knowing, that is keeping all the knowledge about yourself aside and approach it, the desire and will have no place at all. You have to, that means observing yourself without the observer. The observer is the sensor, the observer is the self, the observer is the me. If he is observing, there is no understanding of the self. Can we have that kind of attention where the observer is absent and only observation is there? We may call it the pure observation. Only in that pure observation, the real learning about yourself can take place. That is what I understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chomasi. Yes, Durga ji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like, I think last time also I was very appreciative of this video, sir. I think Krishna ji has elaborated everything in such a beautiful way. And if you really look at the video, the contents of it, sir, the so many dimensions attached to this, like, he started in a very simple way, but how he proceeds to more profound and, you can say, 2 poignant points, as you come to the end of the this video, like he covered everything so effortlessly. I think last time also the same thing I had to say. And he says about what is self and why, what is it that I should know about myself, and he says about we all have so many opinions about ourselves. Our whatever we are is nothing but our memories, nothing but the knowledge we gained, maybe through our parents, through our various backgrounds and all. And with that, when we observe ourselves, so we can't move further. And then he says, without direction, without naming, without knowledge. So he is really tearing away all the factors, tearing away simply, and that's what the Krishna ji is great about, tears away everything, he really makes you naked there, completely, psychologically, emotionally and everything. But at the same time, you need to retain that passion. You need to retain that inner great urge to know about what it is all about. Unless until that is not there, we can't go much farther, much far away. I think maybe one of these days we should have a, video on inquiry also, sir. Unless and until we ask questions. Why is he saying so? I feel inquiry is a very fundamental aspect of Krishnaji's teaching, sir. He explains everything very well. And you look, my God, it is so simple. But when you really try to apply to yourself, then all the problems start coming. Then you sit with the questions. You wonder, what did he say? Why did he say? I feel that is the area when real work starts happening in us. So that's what I have to say, sir. And he lays down the facts, never mind. And he says, like greed and he portrayed the human condition, like we all the time compared. We all the time we have the greed, we are lazy, we are slack. That is not from that is very much a fact. But then then what is the answer for this? And I feel, sir, and this all journey begins with the small steps. It's not that it just in one go you can understand. The title of the video is Desire and Will Needed for the Self-Knowledge. So that means that questioner, he must have heard about self-knowledge, or whoever that questioner may be, and he wanted to say all that. The very question is, it's very tricky. Without going into small details of everything, how can you reach till self-knowledge? Self-knowledge, maybe it comes at the end. That's what I have to say. There's so many factors, the emptying of your consciousness, understanding about each and every nitty-gritty detail of things, and observation. All these things are there. And then in the last, he says, your content is content of the human consciousness. And how do we empty it? And that's a very tricky part. You can't say, I have to empty my consciousness. How will it go away? And what is it that you have to empty it? Which part of it has to be emptied, and which part of it has to, the passion has to remain. You can't wipe away that also. Otherwise, how will you understand anything? So, as you understand, sir, that's why maybe people many people they say, this teaching is very arduous. It is not easy. Though he makes it look very simple, very easy, but it is when you really want to put it in your practice, in your life, the whole your persona changes, your whole world, turns topsy-turvy. That's all I have to say, sir, for the time being. Let me see.
Thank
I can
you.
contribute later.
Thank you, Durga ji. Yes, Verma Sahab.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. I specifically requested Dubey ji to take a series of sessions on self-knowledge. Although today's video is emphasizing about role of desire and will for self-knowledge. So naturally, desire and will belong to the self. So automatically things become restricted and self keeps on changing. So my question, other day, someone said that self-knowledge is emptiness. That struck to me immediately, and it was endorsed by Prasad Malupuri ji also, that self-knowledge is emptiness. So still, I'll request Harshad ji or Dubey ji, what is self-knowledge actually? What is self-knowledge? Self-knowing, I understand. Learning, I understand. Who learns, that also. And what for the entity, what for learning is important. How is it helpful in alleviation of suffering in human life in 24 hours, the way we live? All those things are later on. But what is self-knowledge? Harshad ji, please, if you can say, what is self-knowledge?
Yeah. Yes. May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. That word knowledge, I think that the usual meaning we give to knowledge is that something which we know, it is in the past. But self is changing every moment. So all the knowledge which we accumulate about ourselves, that is a block actually. It is just watching whatever is unfolding in the present moment and not interfere, not analyze it, not say, even if a desire comes, there is nothing wrong with desire. We all have desire, but to just watch it and not do anything with it and allow it to flow. And even if you have desire to say eat ice cream or something, you can eat little bit, but not get so much involved into it that it begins to pleasure becomes a pain. So there is nothing wrong with thinking, nothing wrong with desire and will. What is required is just watching, that pure watching in which everything flows. And if desire come and go, it doesn't leave a mark. So that is what I understand, is just watching moment by moment what is unfolding without doing anything about it, without creating this sense of I and saying that I want more of it or I want less of it. Both are problems. Having more or less, both. So this I itself, when it comes, then there is no real observation. So
Harshad
yeah.
Bhai, I'll ask the same question. What is self-knowledge? Is it emptiness?
No, that word knowledge is it's not like the scientific knowledge. It is just
Scientific or
being in touch.
non-scientific, whether it is knowledge.
Being in touch. Yeah, being in touch with whatever is happening, that you can call it knowledge, but it is not accumulated.
It is all right, sir. But watching, just watching, things are changing. I am also changing. The observer is also changing. That is right. But the learning and watching, what is the difference in learning and watching? Learning for what? Watching, I can understand. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to take, nothing to do. The life which I live daily, learning has to do something with that. That's why learning is important. You see, to me, learning is important because in life, it gives you some sort of order. It is supposed to give learning. Learning for what? Watching, I can understand things, sakshi or something like that. Things are happening, going here and there like a screen passing. But I don't think learning is that learning. You see, please tell me about learning also and watching, difference.
Yeah. No, watching is learning because learning happens unconsciously as a byproduct of watching. So it is not that they are different. Like when Krishna ji uses the word perception is the action, it means they are very much connected. So when there is a real watching without the observer, learning happens as a byproduct. And one doesn't separate it from watching. So when you watch something clearly, then you don't do anything which damaging you, like smoking cigarette. If you watch very clearly how the smoke goes in the lungs and it creates problem, that watching is a learning, and then you drop that problem.
Whatever is learned is dropped?
No, the problem drops by itself. It's
Whatever
not
is
learning first and then being free. It's not like that.
The role of that learning in my life, ongoing life.
Yeah.
What is that?
Sir, I want to get into this now.
Please, sir, please.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
No. Not that I'm not confused, but I'll put forth my point of view. I think, sir, the name is creating a problem. It's actual. It's not knowledge, even though Krishna calls it self-knowledge. There is no knowledge involved in it. There is no accumulation. And if you just observe yourself, say any negative emotion that we have, we just observe without any evaluation. I don't say that I should get angry or I should be greedy or I should be ambitious. I just watch those emotions which I have. You will see that its effect becomes minimal. That is a byproduct. So that learning is not accumulation, but that learning about myself makes things easier in life. So it's
May
not.
I say something?
It's not. I don't know who said something.
I said something.
Yeah, please.
I am clear-minded about it.
Okay.
Self-knowledge blocks self-knowing. Just observe it. Self-knowledge blocks self-knowing. Language blocks self-knowledge. Everything, whatever blocks should not be there. And if you see analysis, you say what Verma ji is doing. If you philosophize something, you kill it. If you philosophize something, you kill it. You become in that net. And you don't understand that. Self-knowing is, every moment is a self-knowing. If you carry on the self-knowledge with self-knowing, you cannot go for self-knowing. That is the truth. Thank you. That's all what I wanted to say.
Thank you. I think we'll go to Durga ji. She has to say something. Yes, please unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. I just want to say, look, what Dr. Verma is asking. I think you people have given good contributions. Similarity, yeah. I think similarly, sometimes we can always speak in Hindi also, no, sir? Why should we all the time speak?
Please do that.
Yeah. Please.
Whichever way we are comfortable in. Of course, we can't use regional languages, but Hindi and English, we should feel free to speak, I think, sir.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
homely atmosphere, like, we have got so tuned to listening to each other's version. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, sir, when he's asking about Verma, sir, you're asking about what is it to learn. I feel we learn about the very essence of humanity, sir. The very essence of humanity. And if you have seen the last part, he says, no, you are the basically the book of humankind. So
Right.
that is a very vast, very profound, and very poignant statement, sir. And Krishnaji's teaching is all about, I feel, nature, understanding oneself, and understanding the humanity. I feel these are the three important segments of Krishnaji's teaching, sir. Like whichever area there is a lacuna happening, if we are only observing ourselves, if we are only concerned about ourselves, I think it won't happen. If you are only bothered about nature, it is not going to happen. And if you're not observing other people, he says you are part of humanity. I do feel, sir, initially I used to feel, how can we be the part of humanity? I have different kind of attributes, different kind of a personality streak. But if you start observing broadly, I feel we're all more or less same. Our basic emotions of, anger, greed, love, passion, the comparison, whatever, whether the positive traits you say or the negative traits, maybe in some people they exist in varying degrees. But basically, the core remains the same, sir. If you really observe, your own family members, your wife, your kids, the people who come to your house, basically our emotions are the same. Maybe because of the backgrounds, various backgrounds, some elements become prominent in us. Some elements, maybe if you are in very good conditions, if you are very gifted, if you are in a very, happy background, maybe you have more positive points to carry on. So, but basically, all human beings are same. I don't know whether it's a fact or he says so, but do we really see that way also? I feel that very seeing, then we understand why we all behave in the particular way. Maybe the reasons why, what triggers us to behave in a way. Then I think when we start understanding that, I feel then the reason of, the element of compassion starts coming in us. Because we're all creatures of circumstances. Like a person is, whether he's a thief or whether he's in a very, he's a dacoit or whether he's a criminal, he is not because basically that. Maybe there are compelling reasons, the background propelling. I feel this part is also very important, sir. Krishnaji's teaching is more about understanding all these aspects. If we are just sticking to the book, just sticking to the words, of course, the words have to be there in our mind. The baseline has to be there in our mind. But unless and until we use our senses, our eyes, vision, everything open and absorb other things also, things won't make sense to us, sir. I don't know, but whatever sense you are making, this may be right. Who is going to judge you? Krishnaji is not going to say, you are in right path or not wrong path. But when you feel some kind of clarity is coming to you, you feel maybe. Because the question is there in you. Why did he say so? Why did he say, is it really true? Am I really the part of humanity? So when you ask that question, when the question is there in your mind, then your observation area also changes. With that question in your mind, you start observing, sir. I feel that's the area where the questioning and inquiring part is very important in Krishnaji's teaching, sir. Otherwise, from his level, he laid out every fact. as beautifully, as clearly, as simply as he could do. But unless and until we have that inquisitive mind, unless and until we have that questioning mind in us, I don't think we can, things start falling in place. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I think very wisely put. Verma Sahib, I think this self-knowledge, the knowledge world is creating problems for all of us because the moment knowledge comes, we are used to that kind of knowledge. And it's very difficult to bring in the psychological content here and for our understanding. But it's basically the absence of self. We have that moments, all of us in our life, where the self is dormant. It doesn't create any problem for seeing anything. There's a very famous line of Kabir. I want to mention this. जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, अब हरि है मैं नहीं. So what is that state where I am not there? That is the state of self-knowledge.
Yes, I can understand, sir, that I can understand emptiness in that sense, that there is no individual, there is no individual, there is no self. And then in emptiness only you can understand what is.
Yes. So in that fact, what you are saying is absolutely correct. But I don't want to give a name to it that this is emptiness, because then it becomes a knowledge.
Naturally, freedom from the past is emptiness. Everything then uncluttered. I can see things as they are.
Yes.
And probably, I don't know, myself also changing simultaneously.
That would be a byproduct of my seeing. Yes.
Dissolving myself into the whole, of dissolving myself.
Yes.
Totally in the whole.
Absolutely.
So that way that it could be. Thank you. Thank you very much.
May I say a thing, sir?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Knowledge is not problem, self is problem.
Absolutely.
Self is problem.
Yes.
If you have to understand the self and you just want to make a stand. If you wanted to make a stand, life is not a stand. Life is flowing one. You have to understand that life is flowing one. You are flowing. The river is flowing. So you have to understand that by naming, terming, or analyzing, you can get nothing. Philosophizing, you do whatever you like to do. You just killing them. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Sushil. Yes, Mr. Arun Parthasarathi, please.
Good evening, everyone. Sir, actually, this is my experience, whatever I'm going to share. What happened is from past few months, I realized that there was some kind of fear always, which is going on. Though I've been listening to K's teachings and all those things, then I just thought of going a little more deeper into it. Then I came across something which K had told about understanding all the causes of fear. What is really causing it? If you really go deeper into that particular thing of what causes fear, I could understand certain aspects of mind which was causing me fear, and then I realized that itself was understanding myself, rather than going all the way around and saying this I have, that I have, and all that. Because the prime emotion which disturbs us is fear, nothing else. I hear some story about somebody, then I think it is going to happen to me. I feel like whether life is going to, when we might die, these kind of very critical questions, when you really put in, then I realized that the main cause of all these things is a emotion called fear. So if you understand that, then you can understand yourself. That is what I could feel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arun. I think in Radghat, Krishti once said while talking to students that fear is the most important emotion. We should talk about it every day in the school. We should talk about it every day in our schools.
Yeah, sometimes it is so dangerous that I don't know what to say, but I've gone out. I've reached a particular level where it doesn't disturb me too much, but I'm able to understand it. See, when you understand certain thing, probably a few years back, I would have, when my understanding was very less, it was a different life altogether. But now when you understand, you know that every day is completely different. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know whether understanding helps or not. I have no idea. But yes.
Okay, so
Okay. Yes, Dinesh ji.
I would like to go where to start. But see,
Don't start.
right now, let us start from the last. Arun said that one should know the cause of the fear. Knowing the cause is an investigation part. It is not a curative or a treatment part. That's what my submission is. Number one. Number two, Harshad sir, curiosity. Just now I have gone through the dictionary meaning of curiosity. It's a strong desire. Dictionary says strong desire to understand a thing. So desire, that too in a very strong way coming into the picture in this. So this also we have to see. And this about learning. It's very interesting. We have to really see what this learning means. Because just by seeing the thing as they are passively and not doing anything, can they tell you about your intentions, your ill wishes, or say your hidden agendas, or your other things? Suppose I am in a KFI, I am authority in a KFI. Suppose I am just giving an example. And I am interested, how can I know that whether I am only interested in organizing the things, or I am also doing the research work in the JK's teachings? What I am doing actually? Just by seeing, can I know this? This is a very vital question. So what are your intentions and how to address them? That is also to be seen. What do you have to say?
I think you have to answer this yourself, Dinesh ji, because you have to see it yourself, that's all. Otherwise, it becomes another knowledge.
Yeah, may I
Wherever
say
you are,
something?
whether it is KFI or any place, you have to watch what is happening inside you. Whether you are there to exercise authority or you are there to learn about yourself. So, I mean, you can't expect an answer for this question from somebody else. It is entirely up to you to see and find an answer. Yes, Harshad bhai.
May I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there is a difference between intellect, which involves investigating, which
भैया हम
which you
मानिए डायलॉग में हम आधा घंटा में फोन करते हैं.
Yeah. So there is a difference between intellect and intelligence. Intellect is what the scientists use when they choose a certain topic and then they go very deep into it and they think a lot. They have to read what other people have done and then they remain silent and they get some idea. So they have certain direction in this intellect. There is a motive there. But intelligence is something, the root meaning is to read between the lines. That means it is a non-verbal. It is not intellect. So that kind of seeing is what Krishnaji is talking about, that kind of perception or insight in psychological sense, which dissolves the problem created by thinking like fear, jealousy, anger, loneliness, boredom. And this seeing is non-verbal. And that is what we are missing because all the time we are using too many words. But seeing is non-verbal. And that is what intelligence means. That is what my view. And this curiosity, even the scientist's curiosity is different than the child's curiosity or a mystic's curiosity. Because the scientist has a purpose, wants to investigate, want to look at the structure of the matter. But it is not for children and highly intelligent people. They don't want to go into step by step with using logic and words and explanation, but they see it very quickly. And in that, the problem gets resolved. So that is a different kind of seeing, which Krishnaji is talking about. Okay, I have finished.
Thank you, Harshad. Yes, Mr. Rajendran.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, Dubey ji. and good evening to all. Actually, what is self-knowledge? Actually, I was just wondering. See, that is, if I look back, what I know about myself, that is only past, only dead. My likes, dislikes, experiences, wants, habits, hurts, guilt, shame, insult, achievement, failures, expectations, disappointments, misunderstandings, and blames, hopes, fears, my beliefs and non-beliefs. These are all. This is what I was. But I don't know why I was having the fear, why I had that envy, why I was getting angry. I don't know. So without understanding why do I do what I do, why do we do what we do, without knowing that, without understanding that, this past and the dead knowledge about my biographical, that is of no use. So I am a living thing. I am not a dead thing. So living thing, whatever I had, whatever I know myself, that I just briefly before a minute, before sub-seconds, that is all a dead past. That is a limited knowledge. But I am a living thing. So unless I know why do I do what I do, unless I know that, that knowledge is of no use. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I think self-knowledge has nothing to do with going into your memories and all that. Can I observe my reactions or what is happening inside my brain or my thought process right now? Observing that without any evaluation or condemnation, praise or whatever. Just seeing that. If we can do that, and that Harshad gave a very good example of scientists. If I'm a scientist and I'm observing the laws of nature with a name that I must get a prize for discovering something new, then I'm in the process of desire. But if I have a curiosity, as Harshad mentioned, I have a very strong urge. You can use any word you want, and defining things from the dictionary has no meaning, because Krishna has used words in different connotations at different places. But if there is a great passion in me to find out what is happening, then whether I succeed or not succeed, that is immaterial, but I want to know. That would lead to some place. It may not be worth a Nobel Prize, but it may be something which I find it completely new to me. And it doesn't get accumulated. I see that and it just goes. I think it has something to do with heart rather than with the mind. And the moment you go get into words and you start analyzing it, the whole, I think it's a wrong path. That's what I will say. Yeah. I think we'll take the last question from Dinesh ji. He has so much to say. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I just want to ask Sushil Jain sir. He said that knowledge is not a problem, self is a problem. JK said that self is made up of your past knowledge. So what does he really mean by it? That knowledge is not a problem, self is a problem. Sushil Jain sir. You are muted, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for making. If you are aware of not knowing, even aware of not knowing, it is enough. You cannot ask something from other until and unless you are aware of that. To be aware of not knowing is knowing. If you just see this, the clarity will come. Clarity cannot come through someone asking question to someone else. The car starts with the self. You are asking the question by the self. Self is a problem. What I say. If you don't make a stand, if you don't take it as a personal thing, if you see things as a whole, If you don't consider yourself individual, there is no problem. But if you take everything personal, you say my stand is correct, my way is correct, then you are nowhere. We have to think it again and again. I just can say this only. And if you are interested in discussions and that, then you can go on. But I personally feel there is no use of discussion. There is no use of as long as you are advocating your point, as long as you are advocating your position, as long as you are advocating your way, your thoughts and this, it has got no meaning. That's all what I can say. Thank you very much, Waghmare.
I think, Dinesh ji, the state of not knowing, I think that is the highest form of wisdom. When the mind really becomes quiet, that is the state of not knowing. Not that I don't know, I can say it many ways. But that real state where the mind says that, well, I really don't know, then something happens. So I agree with Sushil ji entirely that is the highest form of knowledge when you say that I don't know. Because then the mind is free of the past baggage and can look into something which is not conditioned at all.
Thank you.
Should we close now, even though we have about 3-4 minutes? Because Harshad bhai, we close now?
Yeah.
Okay. So good night. And next Sunday we have Mr. C. Rajendran. I have already circulated that. I hope Jain Sahab has also done that. And June onwards till September, our talks would be at 10 a.m. So kindly make this change and remember it. It's not 11, it's 10 a.m. Especially from our Indian friends, it will be 10. If we get somebody from US, like we are getting few people in June, then we'll adjust the timing and inform you accordingly. It will be perhaps 9 or 9:30. Otherwise, June, July, and August, we will have Sundays at 10 a.m. With these words, I thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Modak, please close.